Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer. Pretty soon there will be 5G masks going up all around us, and we want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best protection on the market. Our solution is unique. We use a new source of energy from the fifth dimension to balance radiation fields on any device, making it safe to use. Our results show that this structures water, it balances the blood, and it keeps your body super strong. And yes, it works on 5G. The energy in the patch never runs out, so count up all the radiating devices in your life, stick one on each, and you're done. Click on the link below and you'll soon be bringing balance and strength back to your body. Thank you.
Hey guys, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight we are joined by Rachel Farris, a singer, songwriter. It's probably what she's best known for. She most recently spoke at ESETI, which was amazing, by the way. She has recently appeared on Edge of Wonder, Red Pill 78, As You Wish Radio. And she's kind of coming forward now, just sharing some information she discovered in the music industry and some of the corrupt things that go down and kind of just how the whole thing is really just a big mind control effort to suppress humanity. So, but we're going to get into not only that, but some spiritual stuff tonight as well. Welcome to the show, Rachel. How's it going?
Hey, thanks guys. It's great. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And we need to talk about the biggest news first, how you're banned from Delta Airlines for until the virus is over. What happened with that?
Yes, it's so sad. I got a notice with a PDF attached, a do not fly notice. And I just felt like for once I had broken the rules and I was a very, very bad girl. And it's crazy. So my flight to ESETI was the problem. So first in Atlanta and then to Portland. So the Atlanta leg was fine. I didn't get any trouble, but going to Portland, the flight attendants, they literally like singled me out. So Rob was behind me and Ben was to my left, and they both didn't have masks on. And I was on an aisle seat, and the flight attendant just came up to me and just started, she was just rebuking me and very loud and very humiliating in front of everybody else. But she did.
So no warning or anything, just immediately?
No, well, basically it was, this is the second time that we've passed by that you haven't had your mask on. And it was a long flight, I'll give you that. It was like 6 hours. And I did have some snacks in my purse, which I was snacking on. So, and a water bottle next to me. So technically it was, it was so overblown. And you could ask Rob and Ben, they are my witnesses. It was definitely overblown. And the people around were just like looking at me. It was like I was a criminal. It really was wild. So as she's kind of like coming at me with her anger, it seemed very charged, as though she was, just very mad at me for something. Ben was like, "You probably have a past life with her." And I was like,
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. But I was like, how did she recognize me so fast? Don't sit in aisle seats if you're trying to avoid this. But I tried to reason with her and just be really calm and kind. I don't like conflict. So when faced with someone just charging at me, I just kind of go numb. And then I just was like, well, it's really hard to breathe without with a mask on. It's really hard to breathe. I really find it hard to breathe. I just kept saying. And she was like, well, you know what? It's hard for me to breathe too, but I have to wear this. So you do too. And it was just very odd. And then so the letter said that I refused to go through the process before my flight that gives me clearance to fly without a mask, which is all a bunch of BS. Because first I didn't know that you could even do that, or I probably would have gone through it even if it took an hour.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure you need to have some kind of a doctor letter, something, it was just crazy. I wish I had been more prepared. And the funny thing that Ben and Rob they went free without any kind of repercussion. But
Yeah, why did they not get yelled at and just
I know,
you?
right? I was like, maybe
Doesn't
this
make
is a female thing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like if I do seem too happy, that sometimes I get attacked for that. It's the weirdest thing to say, but
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that I was also just feeling very excited and joyful and about going to ECETI. And, you know, maybe my spirit was too, it can be annoying to someone who's like, and she was in an angry place. So I just tried to be compassionate when I really just felt, you know, criminalized for something that's just normal. I should be able to breathe. But she, maybe she's going through something really bad. Maybe, you know, maybe she's taking it out on me. But so I was stuck at ECETI, which is an awesome thing, but it was still stressful that I couldn't return home on my Delta flight. So they literally were cutting me off from the return that was already booked.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So whenever you, when you finally left the whole industry and decided to, I guess, go back to college, right? And that is that really whenever you started having your aha moments that things weren't as they appeared, as far as just in general within the music industry, Hollywood, the world itself. And so was that like the kickoff of this spiritual awakening also, or how did that process happen that really made you like see everything for what it was?
It did. It definitely started with going back to school, and it was spiritual too, because I studied all the world religions as part of my choices for classes. And so it was a part of my spiritual awakening too, where I had grown up in a very traditional, like Christian upbringing. And so a lot of what I had built my identity on were those teachings. And so going and really studying without having bias of, you know, this is what I believe and it has to be absolute truth. This particular education helped me see that to have a real open mind, you do need to go and kind of explore and leave behind what you've learned. And you can always go back to that. It doesn't have to be a threatening thing. And so I studied all the different religions, and also I studied the Bible in a new way, where you see how the translations and the different words and different things could have been changed. Like, for example, if they use the word virgin, in some of those cases, it really just meant a young maiden, and it was put in to mean, you know, it was translated to just say virgin. So every time it could be that they are talking about a true virgin who had never been sexually active, or it could be just saying a young woman or young maiden. So, I mean, it's been so long since school, but all of these things were so eye-opening. So many things, but political science, history, and all of these subjects all started to connect for me. So I saw how the music industry and all the things I saw there were very similar to the political system. So where singers and these people that were puppets in the music industry, you could also correlate that these leaders in politics were also puppets. And then you can connect the dots that, oh, wow. So in science, you know, it's all about who funded the research. And you really start to just see that, oh my goodness, everything that I just believed was, you know, for my good, that these people are saying it's this way based on this research. And then you never think to ask, oh, who paid for that research? What other studies are there? And so going back to school gave me this critical thinking perspective to really ask more questions. And it also showed me how interesting that I grew up in a faith where you were told not to ask questions. This Bible is God-breathed. Do not ask questions. go and, I'll see you next Wednesday for your next dose of shame. I mean,
Yeah.
I would go, twice a week. Like just when I would start to feel good on Thursday or Friday, it'd be time to go feel like crap again. And I say that a little bit kidding, but it is really hard to embody the character of Christ and loving people and loving yourself and loving God if you are full of shame. And if you are full of feeling like I suck because I'm a sinner and there's no hope for me, and I put Christ on the cross and I need to go drink his blood and eat his flesh and remember that I did this to him. And it just really feels crappy. And you have to look at the words of Christ too. And I'm really going on long with this, but the words of Christ tell us that, I don't know where I was going with that, but just that the most important thing is to love and love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor as yourself. And if that sums up everything, like it truly does, then why is it so hard to love with the doctrine that we are fed? There's something missing. And this was a huge awakening for me, which was one step. And I had several. But this is what's crazy. So a spiritual awakening is so different from all these other sections. You can awaken in health and nutrition, and you can think, I'm so awake because I know that the medical system is BS and I can treat myself with prevention and eating right. And you could be awake in another area of maybe you've stepped out of religion and you just see that you want to just be a good person. There's all these different ways you can awaken, but what I realized is that above all of them, there is an ultimate spiritual awakening that really encompasses all other awakenings under that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Totally.
that was very beautifully said. I agree with all that. I think, yeah, it's so important to realize that, there's always something else to learn, because just because you're awake in one area doesn't mean that, and we're never actually awake. That's the whole secret. We're never actually woke.
Right.
And the people that claim that they are,
you get on that path of awakening, but you never reach like, I am now fully 100% perfect awakened.
Exactly. That's
it's
what
like,
I'm saying.
but you're on the path towards that. And that's the most important thing, is so many people haven't even started on that path, and they're stuck in this box, and they're stuck in this very unconscious state. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, there's all these little awakenings in different areas, but ultimately there's like the awakening where you awaken to your self-sovereignty and the fact that like love is really what it's all about. I think you summed it up there. Like, and that's really what Jesus taught when you really look at his teachings, and not all this shame and guilt and fear and stuff that gets put in there.
Yeah, it's so cool that you guys agree, because this has been on my heart about just all the different areas, because even as we have everybody waking up to the problem that's going on with the children and the trafficking and missing children, and then I don't know if we should call it child P instead of the actual word, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. You can say
it. Child porn. It's a horrible, horrible problem. So you could be awake in that and be so angry and ready to fight, but not be spiritually awake to kind of handle yourself, to handle your emotions that are going to come from that anger. And then there's so many other areas, like you could be totally awake in, I don't know, the education system, or that mainstream media is all owned by the same people controlling the message, but yet you are totally asleep to EMFs and maybe the radio frequencies that you're constantly subjecting yourself to, like sleeping with Wi-Fi on, or having a laptop on your lap that's making you infertile, or all of this technology that there's just so many areas to wake up to, not to mention such a mass depth of spiritual lessons and things to constantly explore. So I like what you were saying, that we never arrive, we never finish. And it's more like a circular, like a CD is how I picture it, where we're going around, and you can hop from, one of the lines on the record, and you go to this matter, and you go on that circle for a while, but there's unlimited areas. And so I think it's so important to not get comfortable. And also, one last comment is, I have noticed a lot of people on Twitter where they might have been inspired by Q with some information, and then they are sent to this link and they totally attack this person. And it seems kind of hateful sometimes. And it sometimes seems like attacking this person for being evil, as opposed to maybe pointing out that we see you and we know you're doing wrong, but also leaving room for the hope that they might still turn to light. And to, because if they're still a human and they're not one of these other beings that can't change, if they are a human, then there's a chance that they will still change and they could totally turn around.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And by other beings that can't change, you are referring to who? No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You're talking about just a cabal, like the soulless aspect of these puppets.
Need some kind of normie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And also it's like there's so much that we don't know, but I've come across some other types of beings. So when I try to exclude them, because there is a part of them that seems like they don't have a spirit. They are more like they've been messed with, or they've been created in a way that is more of a hybrid creature, and they're not totally human. But they look human. And so they have every attribute that would make you assume that they are operating with a conscience and with empathy. And so it is mind-blowing. And I think that these are things that we have to have such high levels of discernment, because it's pretty interesting, because from their perspective, they could be a psychopath, they could be a sociopath, they could be just highly narcissistic. It's not for us to judge if they are a human or if they are one of those. So it's only going to affect us if we don't give them the chance of changing. And I don't mean like all this lovey-dovey, let's, shower the psychopaths with love and that will change them, because it won't. But if you yourself are loving and you're not angry and hateful towards these other beings that are doing this stuff, then you remain in a spiritual safe place where you're not being taken over. Because if you're in that anger and you're hating this person for their darkness or this being, you're pretty much coming from a place of thinking that you somehow aren't capable of evil yourself. And none of us have the 100%, right? And you can only hope that you are more good than bad, for lack of better terms. So let's say somebody's 55% good. Let's say we don't know our president's spiritual stance. We don't know where he is spiritually. We can only look at his actions and what is he doing that's good for humanity. And you can compare presidents by how much they did overall for good, right? And if it's more good than bad, awesome. And we can only look at ourselves, I feel, and see that we know our darkness. We know the things that we have to work on. We know that we have all these things. And so who are we to really actually ever cast a stone? We can definitely hold them accountable. We need to come together and figure out the way that's right, that's not attacking them back, because then we look just like them. And then I feel like we're doing the same thing that they are. We're literally jumping into the darkness with them and swimming in their pool.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're so worried about what everyone else is doing, and we're not worried about what we're doing. And that's a blanket statement. That's not, I'm not including everybody in that, under that, but it's true. It's so easy for us to sit at home on the couch or whatever and get mad at everyone else in the world for doing the stuff that they don't agree with. But what are you even doing to better your own life and to better your situation? And that's where the spiritual growth comes in, because if you were at a place spiritually, that stuff wouldn't even be triggering you anymore. So that's that's kind of how that's a good gauge to know, like, if you have growth that needs to happen, that needs to be done.
Right.
Because you really don't get triggered. Like, I remember when I first started getting into all this information, I would get triggered hard on Facebook, and I would get into arguments, and if I was to look back at some of the stuff I said to people, it would probably disgust me,
Right.
But when you're triggered, you're just you're reacting. You're not thinking anything through. You're not processing anything. So yeah, that's just to piggyback off of what you said. I agree with that totally.
Yeah. It's still hard for me too. I just got triggered by Taylor Swift the other day.
Well, let's hear about it.
It was on Twitter, and I hope maybe you guys I'll delete it if it's at all coming from, I did say it sounds like you've gone postal. And I only said that as a play on words, because she was attacking Trump for the USPS dismantling of the USPS or whatever, saying he's trying to cheat because he knows we don't want him to be president. So when she tweeted that, I was just like, I have to respond. And I got a bunch of likes on it, probably more than I normally get on my regular post. But I hope that I didn't fall prey to the whole reactionary, because I was a little frustrated because I just watched her documentary, and she fought so hard against her sexual harassment. And this is something that I was interested in, because I wonder.
She's supporting Biden.
Yeah.
What?
Does that make sense?
Now she's supporting Biden.
Yeah, it's so hard to compute. And it's just frustrating because she went through a whole battle because of a guy in a press thing, like literally touched her bottom, and there's an actual picture of it. So she had evidence, and it was a hard court battle for her. But she won eventually. But to see her fight so hard for her sexual harassment and then be supporting Biden, and all of that stuff is really out there. It's not like you can pretend it's not. Surely she has seen those pictures of him, right? In the videos. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to respond to her to get her to think about the kids. And so we'll see if she even reads it. I'm sure she does, because we all read our Twitters, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. She knows about it, but who's controlling her? Maybe is she blackmailed? Most likely. So she's not going to stray off message. She has to promote something, whether she believes in it or not, because who knows what kind of dirt they have on her. That's how they operate. I think that
you're right.
Anyone that big too, you got to think they're probably super controlled. Yeah. So
that's what I was thinking. The only difference with her that I know is that her dad had maybe $4 or $5 million to put behind her starting out. So she may be the only artist I know that I still had hope for. And that's kind of why I was watching her documentary, trying to get more info and see, because she did start to have music videos that included the bird cage and some weird stuff that seemed to go along that she's being controlled. But then she also had a song saying, I know that it's delicate, and it almost seems like she was speaking to the Illuminati, but I need to do more research and see if her dad was like a member of Skull and Bones or something, because you just never know. Like, where did he get that money?
Never know. Yeah.
Because why do you have to have 5 million to make it?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting about your latest song, Light Me Up, how it's on the charts with no money, with no financial backing, which is that's
amazing.
Yeah, that's an anomaly. That shouldn't happen. But so congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know it's kind of it is an anomaly, and I know that it can't. Well, I shouldn't say it can't. Anything's possible. It is very unlikely to make number one, because the number one slot is reserved usually for the manufactured. Not that I want to be number one, but I'm just pointing out the way the industry works. And so, I mean, you do pretty much have to get to the top to be earning money on your streaming, which I've talked about before.
Yeah.
So just to be able to make a living, you do need to be able to get those top spots. But yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, it's just, I'm excited if anybody hears Light Me Up and they feel a higher vibration and they feel like, you know, they can run faster for their workout or whatever it is. If it's putting good energy into somebody's body and mind and soul, that's all I want. So I'm super happy it's on the radio because it's probably reaching more people.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody should be making music. You know, it's not, you know, not this controlled Illuminati crap that's being pushed out, that's being pumped out and programming these people, singing about everything anti-life, you know, the sex, the drugs, the money, the alcohol, and whatever else it could be, you know. And then people, and they put a catchy tune on it.
Not to mention a lot of it just sounds the same and isn't even, in my opinion.
Well, I think there's a lot of...
That's just my opinion. A lot of it's crap.
I think there's a lot of... They're not dumb when they release this stuff. They know there's certain frequencies and certain beats and certain patterns that they know are going to affect somebody subliminally. And it doesn't matter, like, people are going to hear this song and they're going to hate it, but it's going to get stuck in their head.
It can still be catchy, whether it's good or not. Yeah, exactly. It's stuck in your head.
There's a science behind it. I really believe that.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, Tyler. There's something I want to read you guys that I found, if I can find it in my notes. The technology that they use, okay, this is part of it. It's from this new science. I think that these are the people trying to start up the one world religion, but it says there's an electric activity that takes place in some individuals that can be amplified with the right magnetic fields. When the eyes are open, there's a certain, oh wait, this isn't the right one.
It sounded good so far.
It's so interesting, all this stuff. So when the eyes are open, there's a certain magnetic activity. And when they're closed, there's another. And every time you open and close your eyes, you're activating a magnetic signal, which is a small demonstration of the simple changes that take place in the brain. And it appears that when the left and right hemispheres are in balance, this energy field can be activated and a beam of light can literally be sent like a biological laser beam, and that to the higher frequencies and vibrations. And we understand what the ancients of our Western heritage called the activation of gematria, the inner body of knowledge through sacred sounds. This is just a small sampling of what they know that we don't know, the Egyptian technology or the ancient. There's so much to it. This is published on this website. This is research that this Dr. J.J. Hurtak has done. And
Hurtak. I know.
You know him?
Awesome. Yeah.
So I originally was super excited about these people because they do list Gnostic Gospels and some things. And I just can't help it. But when I did further research, it seemed to be of darker energies. I know that they are channeling the nine and some other things that I researched, and I just think it's very risky. They actually contacted me to do music with them, and at first I was really excited because I thought I could go to the pyramids and I could be a part of learning all of this. But one thing that I noticed is in their emails, when they would follow up, they would say, we'd like to ask if it's okay. We're not trying to push you or ask you to do things. It's only if you want to. We're just throwing it out there. We're not asking you to do this. It was nobody ever contacts you like that. And I know from dark energies, they have to ask permission to come into your life by universal law. Mm-hmm. And I was really getting those vibes. And I don't know if we'll probably edit this out because it's too...
No.
It's like telling names and stuff. I don't like to do that, but I am concerned about this husband and wife couple because it's so attractive to people like us who are spiritually awakening. I mean, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame because it's so much truth. And it's so amazing, the stuff that they have studied, that I crave to know, because there's another part. Where is it? I want to read it to you guys. So, because,
yeah, I've just heard them at conferences. I saw them at Contact in the Desert a couple years ago.
They went there?
Yeah, they were there a couple years ago, and I was there. And their talk was really good.
They weren't at DOD 2018.
No.
I'm thinking of somebody else.
That is so interesting. I have way too many notes. My life is.
Well, we can. I can. How far off are you from finding them?
I'm very close, because so what they can do is they can awaken a person through their pineal gland and by external capabilities. So as I researched them, I realized, this is another external shortcut. And you can, this also reminds me of those devices in China that shine the light on your forehead. And everybody just like, yeah, take my temperature. And no way would I let anyone shine a laser beam towards my pineal gland. I would die first.
They're doing that here everywhere. I mean,
yes,
whenever
I tried to,
I had to go to work. Whenever I before I could walk onto the job site, they had to take your temperature. And then, simultaneously I came across something that said, they're attacking your pineal gland, and whatever that might be doing, it might seem harmless, but is there something to that? I don't know.
Right. And that's what I don't know. And I wouldn't blindly follow. It's just crazy that they created those. Research that we and our colleagues performed showed that certain names and sounds activate in some individuals the supramental power to materialize and dematerialize matter. The third eye area can be activated by certain sounds. We also found that other life forms, both positive and negative, can resonate with these sounds and extend themselves into our domain. So this is part of their research that they have published. To me, this was huge because so you can literally play sounds and awaken people. Now, this could be good, right? If we needed to hurry and awaken everyone, let's just play those dang sounds and get it over with.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you do that and nobody's done the inner work and they haven't healed themselves and they haven't done it themselves, every part of me feels like this is not good to do this externally, because this is an inside job. And if it's done externally, like they're saying, we found that other life forms, positive and negative, can come in and into your domain. So to me, this could actually be part of the reason that I had some weird experiences. There's a lot of meditations out now that it's very concerning when you're waking up and it's so cool to meditate and you want to do it and clear your energy. How do we find the pure guided meditations? Because this is music. So again, we're opening up to another technology where we need to be sure that the spirit of the person who created this meditation is good and that they're putting the sounds in there that are good. And also we have to be super protected to not let these negative beings and forms that they talk about come into our domain. I mean, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because I've seen warnings going around before for mass meditations, like people are like, do not participate in this. This is not what you think it is. And I kind of thought, well, how does that even matter if everybody's meditating for the same reason, to save the children, let's just say, or to activate the planet? If everybody is focused on that.
They're saying like, oh, the dark's hijacking this one. And it's like, well, they can't hijack it if the majority of the people doing the meditation are positive.
Yeah, but unless there's some type of frequency being like beamed in that has the opposite effect. I'm just saying it's something to consider. I don't know.
Right.
But then
I'm questioning.
But then it's like, so you just don't do it and let them like do because they're going to do it regardless. So it's like, I view that as like
Exactly.
counteracting the dark.
Well, no, but she's saying like a specific like guided meditation on YouTube that's playing, like if the person is playing a song or a
that's
frequency.
different. Yeah.
But no, well, that's what happens. We're not meeting up where these mass meditations are done. We're all watching a YouTube video, or what's coming through that signal that we don't know about.
True.
Right.
And I've heard from many people say when you meditate, get away from all devices.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
So
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And when I was first learning about it too, there's some part of us that wants to be afraid, because especially if, I don't know how many of you have grown up like me with a Christian upbringing, and I call it more of a programming. Hi.
I did. Hi. Yep. I did as well.
It kind of puts you in a state of fear about meditation and about demons coming in and all this stuff. And the crazy thing is that we have let the dark side control all of that, the ability to connect. And I have come to realize that we can all awaken and have these capabilities to connect to our spiritual selves. And you still have the choice in the spiritual realm to connect to the negative source or the positive source, right? So our creator or the false, So I think for us to run away from it just because there's a chance of the negative side, I think ultimately we need to just come in powerful and come in and state, you definitely have to approach your meditation, no matter what it is, with more of for me, I come in under the power of Yeshua and the spirit of Yeshua. And it really, I've never had any issue using Yeshua's name.
Yeah. And you just said something too about running from the negative energy and ignoring it or whatever. And earlier today, when you sent me that message, you said something that I thought was interesting. Was you talked about how dark versus light is also a division. That's also dividing us. We always, everything's good, the cabal and the alliance, which is dark and light. And then when we see them as opposites, it's dividing humanity.
Right.
So at the same time, it's like, you kind of already touched on it as far as showing love to these people, not hate, and understanding and allowing space for them to heal on their own, or the real people, not the soulless bots or whatever. But
right,
while having boundaries at the same time.
Yes, and not being influenced in a way to where they can trigger us to get outside of a good place, because I found too they feed off of any turmoil that we're going through, if it's emotional. So anytime that we get upset and we let them kind of poke at us, it actually feeds them. And so even if you want to, you're almost just literally feeding the beast. But no, exactly. That's the whole dark versus light, where I started to see some of the Q stuff, the QAnon things. And I just really, my instinct was, this could go one of two ways, because it's awesome to awaken people with truth. And then at some point, though, if you feed them in some ways what they need to know to help awaken them, right? At some point, are they ready to be the stewards of that and be responsible with it? Because they didn't maybe step into it on their own journey. I have no clue, right? I'm just asking questions. I'm just exploring. But when I looked at my awakening, how the whole polarity of duality was the problem, right? Where we have Republicans versus Democrats, Christians versus whatever, you name it, Catholics, Scientology, right? Atheists, all these opposites where we're always fighting each other. And we never came together as humanity. So then how is the Great Awakening that's supposed to unite us all, how is it actually making it now? It's dark versus light, and I'm light and you're dark. So are we going to call the Democrats the dark ones? Or how does this, so not to go political, but I'm just trying to understand and kind of peel it apart to see how we can still get this information, but not continue to divide, because I know deep in my heart that the answer for humanity is to unite, and it is to see where we're all similar, the real humans. We all need this planet. We all want love. A lot of people want to have children. A lot of people want a home, land, and just food. And, so I think it's more, for me, how do we keep this dark versus light from dividing us? Do you guys have any ideas? Like, how do we make it not about more division?
That's I mean, if we had the answer to that,
we just stop everything now. Well, this is what we all need to work on, right? Because it's just like me when I was approaching Taylor Swift on Twitter. It's like, she's not the enemy, right? I think she's still human. We have to hope that each person can turn. So my goal was, let's ask her to please help us find the 800,000 children, basically. I mean, I said it hopefully more intelligently than that, but
I do have a theory on that. Like, how do we not separate the dark to light? So it has to do with educating yourself to a degree to where you understand that these pieces of shit that we just can't stand to act, the horrible things they're doing, these people that just disgust us and make us angry, is that who they incarnated as? Was that who they incarnated as? I know these elites, when they have a child, they use voice of God technology and mind control on their own children, so they grow up in this belief system. So they're hijacked at a young age, all of these people, and we have to keep that in mind. We're not really born into this world as these evil people. Now you can be, because there are, if a pedophile is killed and he's a trapped soul in the fourth dimension, he can incarnate and a pedophile can be born again. It's really interesting when you think about that. That's why it's important to cross over these souls. But we have to understand that this type of stuff takes place, and we have to remind ourselves that these people have been blackmailed, and they've a lot of this stuff is against their will, and they're trapped.
Mind control and everything else. Yeah, it's like
they're in so deep they can't get out. Mm-hmm. And if they do say anything, maybe their family's in danger now. So is it really? There is a dark force there that we need to be aware of, but really the dark force, everything exists under the Creator, right? And there's that polarity, that duality. That's the part of the Creator's experience to experience all ends of the spectrum. So is this not just another? Even though they're a dark force, it's still an aspect of Creator. So. Mm-hmm. So that's maybe one way to consider.
And at the end of the day, we all need to be focused on ourselves and our own inner work and just ourselves. And and instead of constantly judging everything on the outside of us and everyone outside of us, and because when you're judging outside of you, you're really judging yourself, because anything you see in somebody else, like, you have the capability. And many times you've done those things, too. So it's like, do your inner work and then have boundaries and have discernment. But that's different than judgment in a condemning way constantly. And when you do that, you're going to gain wisdom, and you're going to be able to be like, okay, I see this happening. I don't agree with it. It's destructive. But I'm not going to put my energy into it where I'm constantly fighting against all these things. Because then you're just feeding into the negative when you're constantly trying to attack it. And that way, what you do is you focus on creating beautiful things and love and the positive, and you build that, and then you'll see the negative just start to diminish, basically, is how it works. So so basically it comes down to self-sovereignty. Stay focused on yourself in terms of like your inner self, and do your inner work, and you will connect with like minded and soul family, as we all have, as obviously we've been doing, and don't get caught up. It's really easy to get caught up, but like it's only detrimental when you get super caught up, because then you lose track of that, and then you think you need to like get upset all the time about everything else, and it's also, don't stick your head in the sand, like, and spiritual bypass, which is what a lot of people do too, and that's the other end of the spectrum, where people want to think ignoring everything happening is a good thing, and it's not, and like, oh, you're creating it if you give any attention to it, and that's not how it works either. It's about acknowledging it and creating what you want to see instead.
Yep.
And that way you're like transmuting the energies instead of actually feeding into the negative, which is what unfortunately a lot of people do. So
right.
Yeah.
And I think
said. Yeah.
Very, very well said. And
thank you.
when I love that you said all that, Aaron, and I would add to what I had said before, that I would backtrack in that, of course, there's anger, a righteous anger about what's going on with the children, because it's like across the board, that's just horrific, right? And even like the worst of us at our worst, I can't imagine that we would ever come close to doing what they've done to children. So it almost is like there's so much mystery in this universe or this multiverse and whatever the heck this is, that it's like, how can we know? But we do know that that's just beyond horrific, right? So it's almost like, yes, we don't need to pretend that we're going to be like these hippies that are like, we don't have anger, because there's a place for that anger.
Right. But like you said, righteous anger, which to me is a different,
it's totally a different nature. You're right. It's coming from a righteous place of knowing, the difference between evil and good. So and you're empowered with that, and it makes you angry to see it. And so I think we've come to a good way of acknowledging the dark, but not making it a battle of like, I want to see destruction of the whole planet so that we can get to the end because of all this evil, like.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that a lot of these things happening right now are going to play out exactly the way they're going to play out, whether we're focused on it or not.
Right.
And so it's like how much it's like our voting system all the way up until now. It's Joe Rogan put it best. He's like, he said years ago, voting was like rooting for pro wrestling. It's like, it's already preordained. You just feel, they make you feel like you have some leverage, but really,
it's a show.
It's a show. Until now, obviously we know it's different. Because that show is being canceled. So,
yes.
The show is
the show is over. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
you go.
I was just gonna say, as far
you go.
Also, it's like you said, it's hard to imagine even like ever doing something so evil. Well, when doing this research and understanding how things work, you watch some pretty disturbing things, and I've listened and watched some really horrifying testimony and some real eyewitness or firsthand accounts. Some of these people are born into this world and they don't know any different. When this one girl finally had a chance to escape this sex slave of a life, her whole life she was used as a sex slave, basically. When she finally had a chance to escape, she missed it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because that's all she knew, and she was
probably terrified to leave it.
So it was really, really disturbing because she didn't understand any other way of living.
Right.
So it's not like people are just innately evil, but when that's all you know,
Mm-hmm.
then that it almost seems normal, right?
Yes.
In a terrible way.
So true. And if you're born into a family that tells you from day one that you are this and doing this appeases our God, and like this is all you know, and your family tells you that, this is important because we rule the planet, or and these other sheeple need us to do this and whatever, it's really hard to imagine growing up in one of these types of families. But when you understand the programming, and when we can relate and know that we ourselves have been programmed to a much lesser extent, it's crazy how you can program a human. It really is. And then the trauma bonding that occurs with any abuse is a real thing. I mean, this is why most women don't leave their abusers when they're married to one. You get to a point where you can't see straight, and to leave is more painful than the pain of staying. And and to get to the point of strength within that environment, to walk away from it, is nearly impossible.
Or if somebody does come in, like the girl in the abusive relationship, and then somebody comes in that is this amazing person that could give them an entire new chance at life, and has a lot to offer, and help them escape this horrible lifestyle, that is almost a threat to that person, because now it's an uncomfortable situation. This is uncharted territory for them, and they actually subconsciously start doing things to push that person away, and then they fall back into the old patterns.
Right.
And that's it. It's really, really traumatic, and it's really hard to escape that once that's all you know.
It's almost like they need to be healed before they can escape it.
Right. And that's what's so interesting about everything. Like even relationships where you maybe feel the same pattern, a subconscious pattern, you think, all right, I'm never going to date someone like that again. And then the next one is very similar, just slightly different. Mm-hmm. But these are these patterns that we get so stuck in that are sometimes really subconscious. So it does take, this healing. And
well, you just said it. It's not a pattern. It is a pattern. Yeah. But it's a pattern because, so this is a realization I've had recently, but when you think you keep attracting the same type of person, you're only attracting what needs to be healed within you.
Right.
So there is a pattern, but that pattern breaks when you realize that that person is acting as a mirror. Mm-hmm. And until you realize that and then heal that within you, that's the only chance you're going to have of making progress.
Right.
Escaping that.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's funny, the song, It's Like You're My Mirror. Yeah. Every person that we meet that I've noticed is a mirror. And this is why being isolated is so detrimental to our spiritual growth, because it's so much easier without all the mirrors around. And, you can have a mirror of just meeting another person that you're interacting with, and you get close to them. So it's a beautiful thing, relationships, and a beautiful opportunity of constant growth. And the more, people you interact with, the more you can grow and just be, ultimately the goal, I think, is to be at a place where you don't need someone else to fill something within you. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are together, obviously, to maybe for all kinds of reasons. But I think during this isolation where people are locked down at home, they're really starting to see, is this really love, or did we, get together for other reasons? And this could be a good opportunity to grow and see, if you're together constantly, you don't have that barrier of an 8-hour workday where you can kind of have a breather. And if you got together for, wanting to change this person, or like okay, I never could change my mom or dad, and so I'm going to change this person, or whatever it is, a financial arrangement or anything, if it's other than real love, which should come from, you being able to love yourself and not needing something from this person. It's easier, obviously, to state than to do, but that is ultimately where I feel we can all have better relationships, which will really help heal the planet too, because obviously marriages have not been working for a long time.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is, your own happiness shouldn't rely on somebody else.
Right.
And that's the simplest way to put it. And then that's, when somebody's leaving somebody in a relationship, you think, oh my God, I can't live without you. I don't know what I'll do without you.
Codependent relationship. Yeah.
And even if somebody's not really an extremely codependent person, it's still, we have to really learn how to be happy on our own. And it's something that every single person has to work on, because we have been fooled by what happiness really means. For the longest time in my life, I thought being happy was going out and drinking at the bar with my buddies. And I was happy. And I don't regret any of those days, because it's made me who I am now. But that was my idea of having fun. That was my idea of being happy. And that's so skewed. And that gets you nowhere. And that keeps you in the system. So having these realizations and actually stopping and stepping back and looking at your life from the outside, that's really when you're going to start being able to make changes, when you start noticing these things.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's such a thing we hear so much that I feel like people are just kind of like, well, when you say be happy with yourself or love yourself. And I think a lot of people joke and say, oh, you drank the new age Kool-Aid or whatever. And I get that so much. Or like, oh, you must be in a cult if you're so like happy and, you found self-love.
Yeah.
But it's not a cult, and it's not, it's an amazing thing. And I really want to help people any way I can to kind of point them to that kind of experience, because I obviously am still working on myself, but I feel like I did get to a point of feeling just like much more okay, and not searching for something outside of me to kind of come in and make me feel good. And that goes across the board, whether it's a man or whether it's wanting a savior like Jesus Christ to come. And, I think that's another thing that I've been getting in the vibes of some Christians, where they almost want the end of our beautiful planet to bring and usher in Christ's return. And to maybe, I want to try to stop them as a collective from manifesting that for all of us, because I do feel like we can rewrite that outcome. I think that's one of many outcomes. Yeah. And I would like for us to rewrite and take a different path. And so I do think that so much comes down to relationships, and it's relationship with food, relationship with Creator, relationship with others, relationship with our body, relationship with the earth, with everything, with vices, with intelligence, with books, with knowledge. So just getting to a point where the only thing that ever worked for me was connecting to my Creator. And it didn't happen in Christianity. I was a Christian my whole life, pretty much, until it's almost like maybe that was preschool, and maybe there is a place for that, and it's a necessary step. Maybe it's just the beginning. And so I don't want to condemn that, but I think that getting out of that is the thing that freed me. And so freed me to be able to actually know my Creator.
Yeah.
Which is so...
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
That's beautiful. And you talked about connecting with the earth, which I think is one of the most important relationships, maybe if not the first one we should work on besides ourselves. This is, if you look at the Native American ways, which I believe they were doing it right, at least at some level, at some point they were the basis of it. But when you have a relationship with the trees and the plants and the grass and the animals, and you actually talk to it, and there are ways to communicate with this stuff and actually tap into it. Everything is alive. The mycelium network under the ground, all the plants and tree roots, and it's an entire brain system. The movie Avatar, in a way, was a documentary. But when we learn that connection and re-tap into that connection, that's the starting point. Because then when we understand how the world actually works, how the world actually operates, then we can go from there. And every other relationship can be based on that. And that's, I don't even know how to end that brand.
It's beautiful. It's so true.
Yeah.
No, I love all of that. And it's so wild to remember hearing a message as a Christian child that the movie Pocahontas was bad. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like, was she talking to the trees in the movie maybe?
Oh, the animals, everything. They were talking everything, yeah.
Yes. And I can see, putting myself in those shoes, I can see where it's almost like in everything that we could possibly grow up in, there's so much truth, right? I learned so much good in the Christian walk, but then there were also like these lies that kept me in a cage, right?
Yeah.
So that would be one of them. Like, don't talk to trees. That's bad.
Yeah.
And don't acknowledge the beauty of this creation, right? It's just, and I think there's so many rants to go on, but I try to understand others. And I know that there's a lot of environmentalists out there who they think they need to vote Democrat because they're an environmentalist. And it's just so wild to kind of peel back and see where does that come from.
That's a psyop.
Which is voting for the people destroying the environment, literally.
Right, because they don't understand though that so the science that they've been taught is a lie. So how are you supposed to wake up to that, right? So this is one of those areas of awakening where I saw someone post something cool on Twitter where they said, don't forget, scientists also can be paid off. And so if you're an environmentalist, you're probably such a beautiful soul. And you're probably thinking you need to vote Biden because you're like, Trump is taking all the money away from all of these environmental issues that I've spent my life working towards, right? They probably went to Harvard. They probably went in the top schools and they are working for the United Nations now. That is all about the environment, which is all a psyop.
It is the biggest psyop. I mean, that we can do an entire episode on that.
Oh yeah,
we totally could. And this is another reason why it's like, I just wish people knew. So they're making fun of Trump because he brought back incandescent light bulbs, and they're making fun of him for rolling back the limits on water. And these things, to me, my whole life, I have been like wishing that these things were known to people. Like that light bulbs, the blue light in LED lights are so bad for us. The blue lights in our computers, and you can't imagine, why would someone make a product and make it the only possible thing you can build a house with? Like, it's a regulation. You cannot build a house with incandescent lights. You can't.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you could probably, you're construction, but I mean, I couldn't. So the builder that I chose, they couldn't. They said it was government regulated. They had to do LED for energy efficiency. That's a lie. My electric bill never changed based on what kind of light bulbs I had. It's been the same. I changed them all. I had to hire someone to put incandescent lights in.
That's just the excuse they used to do it. They're just like, oh, they're energy efficient, but they're super harmful.
And so here's
even if they were,
here's a perfect example of these light bulbs, which I even still have some in my house, which I need to do something about. But these light bulbs put up a frequency also.
Yeah.
And a guy I know, I just got done doing some work in his basement. He put a new garage door operator on because his old one went out. So, and the operator has a remote, brand new. And with the operator, he put new lights in his garage at the same time. While he was up there, he put the new LED lights in. This operator wouldn't work. The remote, it kept malfunctioning. He thought he did something wrong. He thought he took it back, put a different one. It still wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. He was telling somebody, he's like, "What kind of lights do you have in your garage?" And he goes, "I have brand new LED lights." He goes, "Take them out and put the old ones back in." He did, and it worked fine. Whatever frequency it was emitting from those light bulbs was interfering with the radio signal between the operator and the remote.
Amazing.
And if it's affecting that, what's it doing to our bodies?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true.
I'm going to actually start to wrap this up a little bit. And
Okay. Wait, there's 20 other things.
Yeah, I know.
No, we're not done yet.
So let's talk Camp Disclosure a little bit right before we wrap this up.
Okay.
It's super awesome that you're going to be there now doing the live stream concert, which I will be playing a couple songs on guitar with you. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so everybody out there, if you don't have a live stream ticket yet, you should get one. They're only $44. It covers 4 days, 22 speakers, an amazing concert if I don't mess up the songs.
Tyler doesn't ruin it.
If I don't ruin it. But yeah, did you want to add to that at all to tell people what you're doing?
I'm just so excited that there's another event, because just coming back from ECETI, it was so incredible to be around all of these people and hear the speakers. And I know it's going to be just another experience like that, Camp Disclosure. So, I mean, gosh, if I wasn't going to be there, I would absolutely be watching from the live stream, because it's so impactful to hear these people speaking live. And yeah, I mean, I heard there's a singer that's going to,
yeah.
But really just seriously hearing them, and they're so knowledgeable, and it's just really inspiring. So yeah, get those tickets. I can't believe it's only $44 too.
Yeah.
Because I think anytime I ever looked up something like this, it was, more like $300, a tougher decision.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and just that roundtable we just did with Alex Bloom, Steve Cefalo, Jace Kalesa, and Simon Essler. I mean, I think that was a great preview of what to expect. I mean, all of these guys are amazing. They have so much to bring to the table. So it's just going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get there. It's less than a week away. So yeah, everybody.
James Gilland is speaking before we do our concert. So we have a big act to follow there.
Yeah. But I'm not worried about it. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. If you mess up, Tyler, I do not care.
I don't either.
Actually, it would make me feel better so I can mess up.
Yeah.
You just got to say more dad jokes than James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, Rachel. We got into some amazing stuff. I really enjoyed this conversation a lot.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And
thank you guys.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Every like, every subscribe, every comment you guys leave, it means the world to us. The donations we get from people, I know we haven't really personally thanked any individuals, but thank you. You guys know who you are.
All for your donations.
You guys know who you are, and that does not go unnoticed, and it helps out tremendously. It keeps us doing this. It keeps us afloat. We have t-shirts available also on the TeeSpring, that link's below. We never do any promotion, or we never promote ourselves, but grab a t-shirt if you want. The Omnia patches, they really work for that harmful EMF, that radiation coming into your home. It blocks it. That stuff is detrimental to your health, so it's good to have some type of protection. And all that being said, thank you again, everybody, for all your loyalty and support. And we love all of you guys, and we will see you after. Our next thing will be coming live from Camp Disclosure, so keep an eye out for that. And good night.
Good night, guys. I'd like to also ask that they follow me or check out my website, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
we should
you
like
didn't-
to do it. Yeah.
Didn't even- Sorry.
Just, I don't like to market myself either, but it is probably a good idea. But yes, I thank you guys so much for having me. And on that note, I'd also like to thank the people. There have been amazing people downloading my music straight from my website, which has given me such hope that I can actually put that back into making music videos and recording more music. And so it just keeps me going. So thank you so much to those who have done that. And please do check out my YouTube channel and subscribe there so you don't miss the Light Me Up music video coming soon. And there's also a new single coming soon, but Light Me Up is on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, and everywhere. So you can download it even if you don't download it on my website. And do follow me on Twitter at rachelsmusic. All across social media. And thank you guys so much for having me. I love your podcast. And I look forward to seeing you all at Camp Disclosure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you
Can't
so
wait.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see you from live from Camp D.
Yeah.
Can you light me up? Can you light me up? Can you light me up? You're the circuit to my soul where the sparkle flows. I just need your flash. Can you light me up? When you glimmer, all the stones that the haters throw at me turn to ash. I just need that touch.